Okay, so the book I did was Bomb, the Race to Build and Steal the World's Most Dangerous Weapon by Steve Shankin. A little bit about Steve. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, and he was raised in Mississippi and Colorado before he moved back to the suburbs of New York City. He then later attended Syracuse University, where he studied communications and international relations. He started as a textbook editor and eventually became a full-time writer for that same company. And then he quit that company in 2008 and began writing nonfiction books full-time. Other than Bomb, some of his more notable works are the Port Chicago 50, Lincoln's Grave Robbers, and the Notorious Benedict Arnold. His writing style, Steve Shankin is a nonfiction writer who adds a cinematic and suspenseful tone to his writing. His books are aimed more towards young readers with an interest in history. So starting to get into the book began as an idea that Steve and his editor at Roaring Brook Publishing had. And he wrote the book to provide an interesting way to tell the story of the making of the atomic bomb, along with the nuclear race and the conflicts involved in it. When he created the book, he used a lot of really interesting sources. He used a lot of books in the creation of the characters and just the information in it, some of which were Assault in Norway, Sabotaging the Nazi Nuclear Program, and Roosevelt's Secret War. He also used interviews, first-hand accounts, and documents, some of which were released from the U.S. government. He used all those things together to create the whole book. So, actually getting into the book, Bomb is Steve Shankin's interesting account of the three-way race between America, Germany, and the Soviet Union to build the first atomic bomb. The book starts off exploring the life of Robert Oppenheimer, who is the leading scientist and director of the Manhattan Project, which is the code name for the United States nuclear program. It then goes into details about World War II, specifically the Nazi, Soviet, and American race for a nuclear arsenal. The side it most goes into is the American side, explaining President Roosevelt's creation of the Manhattan Project, the scientists involved in it, and just the project's overall goal and its research. Shankin also elaborates on the Soviet infiltration of the project through its notorious spy system, the KGB, and then Germany's own attempt at atomic bomb creation. This explanation, research, and synopsis of the entire nuclear race continues until the end of the book, when President Harry Truman gives the orders to use the atomic bomb on Japan. Following its use within the book, Oppenheimer's regret for the involvement in the project is shown, along with many other points of views arguing against the use of nuclear weapons. And then the book ends with Shankin's own opinion of the matter, where he states that this is our history and it's a huge part of our lives today. Personally evaluating the book, I think he achieved his goal in writing the book and more than better executed his purpose for writing it. He created arguably his best book. This is his most awarded book and his best-selling book, with the use of so many great sources. And he really used those sources to tell a vast and complicated story in a way that people who read the book would understand and be interested in. And there aren't really many downfalls in his writing, as he included so much resourceful information, and even information that's really hard to find that just normal research on the topic wouldn't include. He also presented it in a really unique way. He used quotes, stories, and first-hand accounts to create almost a story out of pure fact and nonfiction, and it made it far more suspenseful and fascinating than reading a textbook or a normal book on the subject, of which there are many. He even used some of those books in the creation of this book, some of which I named before, but some that rival this book are Dark Sun, The Ultimate Weapon, Stalin and the Bomb, and Racing for the Bomb. They're all books that fit into this category, but none seem to have the same style of writing or level of suspense that he included in his book. There is, however, a clear bias in his writing, as Steve doesn't support nuclear weapons, which, after you read the book firsthand, it can be really understandable for someone to come to that conclusion. It doesn't, however, affect the book negatively, but to me, I thought it added a sense of emotion and personal connection to it. In conclusion, I would definitely recommend this book to anyone who's interested in history, World War II, or just nonfiction in general. He provides a fascinating and personal twist to a really important piece of history that is sure to keep anyone who's reading the book interested. It's a very well-rounded, information-packed piece of writing that actually taught me a lot about the subject, while still keeping me interested at the same time, because I'm not really a big fan of reading, but reading this book, it kept me interested while I was reading it. And it honestly didn't feel like I was reading a research book, and it felt more like a story, since he really used a storyline to tell the history of the atom bomb race. My favorite part of the book was actually at the very end, where you can find some copies of declassified documents regarding the Manhattan Project and the atomic bomb, one of which was a letter to President Roosevelt from Albert Einstein. That was my favorite, personally. One thing I didn't like was that Schenken developed certain characters too much, and it felt like the book was drifting away from its main subject at times. But other than that, I enjoyed almost every part of the book and wouldn't really change anything about it. If I was reviewing the book, I'd give it 5 stars, and if I was an actual book reviewer, and I'd definitely recommend it to other people. It was a really good read, and I'm kind of glad I did the project actually and picked this book. So that's the book. It's called Bomb: The Race to Build and Steal the World's Most Dangerous Weapon. I definitely recommend it. Read it if you want to. Yeah, thank you.